How's it going, guys? Marcel over here from BrandJet, and I'm going to walk you guys through our brand intelligence and multi-channel outreach platform, which I'm quite sure everyone's going to love. So, real quick, when you onboard, the first thing you guys will see is a brand intelligence and monitoring feed. Now, what this does is it takes mentions of any company you've added. In this case, I've added Replit, for example, and it picks up all these mentions across different platforms. So, for example, LinkedIn, you can do X, you can do Reddit as well. You can also do YouTube in this case. But it's not just mentions of the company, right? What you can also do is add keywords to track, how people are talking about specific things that are relevant to your brand. So in this case for Replit, I've added the word vibe coding. I can add a bunch of other words here. But what's really cool about this is that you can also track your competitors, right? So if you want to keep an eye out on what your competitors are doing online and how people are talking about them, engaging with them, what people dislike, what people like, you can essentially just add, for example, I've added a level over here. The exact same feed will show up with a sentiment analysis telling you if it's positive, neutral, and negative. And the cool part over here is this feeds in directly to your outreach sequences. So you can set up automations to quickly, for example, either automatically add leads or manually add them over here. So if someone's talking about vibe coding over here, I wanted to reach out to them as Replit, I would just press this add lead button here. I would, put it to a list, in this case, social mentions list, and it automatically feeds it into the outreach sequence, either on whichever platform it's added from. But that's not all. In terms of brand monitoring, we have another pretty cool feature here, which is essentially AI monitoring. So as you guys are well aware, more and more people are now asking AI for their opinions on what tools to use, who to talk to, etc. And it's quite simple to set up. So you simply go to the AI monitoring area, you create a monitor. There's a bunch of templates over here for you guys to use. So you can, for example, you want to do organic search, use template. You can set up instructions here and fine tune it. You can set up a persona. So if you wanted to look at AI responses from the perspective of a vibe coder, maybe you wanted to look at it from the perspective of a CTO or a marketing manager, you can fine tune these things, set it up, and then all you have to do is select the models. Most people tend to use Google AI Overviews or ChatGPT Live Search, of course. And what it does is essentially it constantly monitors the responses to specific prompts that you can add yourself, or there's some templates that are provided there too. And it lets you know which sites are referencing you, how they're talking about you, if it's positive, if it's negative, and what your brand strength typically looks like, right? That's not all. What you can also do in terms of, really learning more about users is, in this case, the website analytics page. Now, obviously over here, I don't have access to Replit's backend, so I can't install the script, but it's a single two-step process. You simply add in the company website over here. It provides you a script. And once you upload that script to your website, it shows you visitors, returning visitors, all these fine details, channels, referring campaigns, where people are coming from, what browser they're using, which countries and cities they're from. So all these details, all these traffic insights you can also get by just, with a single click on BrandJet. But now that we've talked about the brand intelligent monitoring features, what's really cool and what really takes this platform apart from just, giving an idea of brand building and, understanding how things are interacting on the internet is being able to do native multi-channel outreach without having third-party integrations. So starting off, let's say you wanted to collect a list of leads. So if you have a SalesNav account, it's even easier. You simply press this button over here. Let's say I want to run a campaign for vibe coders in San Francisco, right? You would simply select the LinkedIn account that has a SalesNav connected. And then all you have to do is go to SalesNav and copy paste a search URL based on the filters and the ICP that you're intending to target. Once you've pasted that, you decide how many leads you want to run this campaign for, how many leads you want to collect in general. 20,000, for example. You just create the collection. In a few minutes, all of those leads will be directly imported from that SalesNav search query over here for you to be able to run those outreach sequences. But what's even cooler then is you're able to sequence this directly in our campaign section. So this is where a lot of the magic happens. Now let's go through this simple and quick process in a few steps on how to set up and create these campaigns. So over here, if you have leads, the first step, of course, adding your leads, you can use our own sort of lead collector through SalesNav, our social mentions lead collector, or of course, you can manually add leads and import CSVs essentially. In this case, I'm going to just manually add my own name over here, which I've done several times. So it's a duplicate, but that's all right. I'll just do it here, add lead, just to show you guys how the sequencer looks. Let me just add this. So once you guys are going through the lead addition process, the next step is essentially connecting the accounts, right? So over here. So once you've connected these accounts over here, you move on to the account selection. basically choosing the accounts with which you'd like to run these outreach sequences. In this case, for example, I've onboarded my Instagram. You can do the same thing for LinkedIn, for your email inboxes and domains, for your WhatsApp numbers, as well as your Twitter and Reddit accounts. So it's truly multi-channel, completely native on the platform. So let's just look at an example here with Instagram. Update accounts over here. Once you've selected the accounts for which you want to run these campaign sequences, you go on to where the magic happens, which is our sequencer. So this is where everything with regards to your outreach automations will basically function. So for example, you want to run a LinkedIn campaign or a LinkedIn plus email campaign. The only thing you do here is, for example, send out an email, right? You can add the copy here. There's spin tags. You can also upload your templates to save yourself some time. Once that's done, you can essentially, send out another email sequence and then wait a day. If you don't get a response, you can then send a LinkedIn invitation. Now, if the LinkedIn invitation gets rejected, for example, you can send out another email directly on the platform. If you want to be even more annoying, obviously you wouldn't typically do this, send them a message somewhere or Instagram if you have that information. If it's accepted over here, for example, they accept your invite, you just send a chat message. You can either react to their post or visit their profile. Typically, of course, you would want to send a chat message, right? And you can time these and space them out as much as you'd like. Now, the interesting part over here is that we have warm up baked into these systems, right? So if you're trying to send mass email campaigns, you can configure warm up settings directly in the platform. We have exceptionally good warm up, benchmark against a lot of competitors, benchmark against other tools. So no additional warm up is required on your end. You can simply rely on the platform to do this for you. Now, once you have your sequences over here, right, you've added your copy, you've added, the kind of messages you want to send out. All you then have to do is press launch, and your job there is done. With that being said, we have now gone from sort of understanding the brand intelligence, how people are talking about things, collecting leads either through trigger keywords, through intent, or importing them directly through Sales Nav lead collectors or your own CSVs, and then creating these very simple, easy to use campaigns that can run at scale. With that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this quick little walkthrough of the platform. There's a bunch of other cool features. And if you guys have any other questions, feel free to send me an email or even just add a comment to this long video. Thank you very much.